Hello everybody and welcome to today's episode on the Jack Simpson podcast. On today's episode we've got on Dave Walsh. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's a great place you've got here.
Yeah, well, it's your place, it's just my kit. No, thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. Much appreciated. Come across you on Instagram as I do the majority of the people that I come across. And as always, and what the reason I have people on is because your story resonates and the struggles and whatnot that you've been through. I don't want to give the game away too much. I want you to tell the story. It just resonates with me, and I think it will with the listeners as well. So do you want to just give everyone your sort of background, where you come from, and how you've got to be sat in front of me now?
Yeah, of course. So should I start from day one, from birth?
Go chronological and we can pick it up as we go.
So I was raised in Newport, South Wales, and then moved over to Chippenham after meeting my wife, after being in the army and stuff.
What did you do in the army?
I was a cook.
Okay.
I was one of them guys. But yeah, kind of met my wife when I was there, and then she won the battle and we moved to Chippenham instead of Newport, which was, probably a godsend really.
Well, yeah, you're in God's country now.
Well, state of Newport as well. And then kind of left the army, was struggling a bit, mentally, didn't know overly what to do. Tried joining a few like football clubs, rugby clubs, but never really got on with the people there, because you think like everyone's been there since like birth, their mates and stuff. When you're an outsider coming in at 24 years old, you kind of don't fit in so well. So just started the sport of strongman. Went to the gym, thought I was pretty strong. Said to my wife, boom, I'm strong. Didn't know her like cousin does strongman, and then called me up, calling me out and stuff. And then next thing I know, I was at actual strongman gym with actual strongmen, thinking, oh shit, I bit off more than I could chew here. And then kind of loved it. And then from there went on to compete in opens competitions across Britain. Got to a decent level, I think. I was training for Wales Strongest Man, but then in 2014 was diagnosed with MS. So cheers for that. Got diagnosed with MS, and then kind of started to roll downhill from there.
So when you had the diagnosis of MS, what was that like?
It's kind of bittersweet. So my symptoms were I was numb in my arm for about a good 2-3 weeks, and then it spread to my body for about the right side of my body for about two or 3 weeks, and then about a week later it spread everywhere. So I was numb everywhere. But I was still like mobile. I was still able to do everything that I was doing. I was just a bit numb. So I was just a little bit numb, and then I was kind of alright about it. Kind of like punch me in the arm, I can't feel anything kind of job. Just messing about, doing kind of dude shit with it. And then went to the doctors after I didn't want to, but obviously being a man, the typical male toxic masculinity, didn't want to go to the doctors. And then wife kind of forced me in, and it was about 3 weeks later I was diagnosed with MS after loads of tests and that. So it's kind of bittersweet, because I was still able to do everything I was still doing, still able to go to the gym, go to work. I was a doorman at the time, still able to do everything, but I was told then that I was diagnosed with MS and I was disabled, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, not really sure about that, but soon it kicked me in the right ass. So after probably about a year I started struggling with the symptoms of MS.
So when you were diagnosed then, what's the sort of, for people that don't know much about MS, like what is that as a disease?
So it's a neurological disease. Your brain sends kind of like messages to your body around, telling it what you want to do. So if you want to move your arm, your brain's telling you to do that. Someone with MS, their nerve protector, almost. So you've got the nerve, and then you've got the myelin sheath, which is around the nerve, which is protecting the nerve from getting attacked and stuff. That someone with MS has potentially weakened myelin sheath, and after time it can decay and get knocked out and start being gone, basically. And then you get attacked in that nerve by your own body, so the messages don't go through as well. So for me, the messages don't go to my legs so much because I can't walk, and my arm's still numb, so the messages go don't go to my aunt saying don't be numb. And that's basically it in a nutshell. It can affect everything to do with, mobility, eyesight, brains, thinking and stuff. They say there's not two people with MS the same in the world. They call it snowflake disease. I know people who've like gone blind from it. I know people who can't walk from it. It's me, hey, and I kind of know people who've had it for like 30 years and they've never been affected by it. So it's luck of the draw really, and I just pulled shit luck.
When I first asked you that question, you said it was a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, I think so, because I've done stuff in my time that, unless I was in the wheelchair or disabled, that I'd never be able to do. I wouldn't have pulled the Guinness World Record from a wheelchair if I was never in a wheelchair, or I wouldn't have been world's strongest disabled man if I wasn't disabled. So, I've had so many opportunities which I'm really grateful for, which the MS has brought on. However, the curse is, I can't walk, I can't be the same dad I was to the kids, and, I can't be the same husband, I can't be the same person I was, 15 years ago kind of job. So, yeah, it's a blessing and a curse. Not sure which one is winning, though.
Well, I think, like you've just said, all your accolades and stuff like that, you're making the most of your situation massively. And obviously before we got on air, I mentioned, obviously, Liam McGarry. Very, very similar situation. Like, hi Liam. Good luck in the Paralympics. He was the same. Like, he was just one day fine, top of a bus, legs stopped working, and that was it. And then he was bound to a wheelchair, and he had to figure it out. And he was like, "This isn't going to define me."
Yeah.
And he on that podcast, he talked about, he called it the orange peel story, where he tried for 3 hours to put this orange peel into a bin in a disabled ward, only kick step bins. So he's trying to flick his wheelchair onto it. It took him 3 hours to get it done, and he was adamant. He was like, it's going in.
Yeah.
He's not going to stop. Didn't stop, didn't quit, didn't give up. Did it, and then he said, and that's how I live my life now.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you have to adapt to every situation, and my house wasn't fit for a wheelchair, so we had to build an extension on top of that just so I could live as normally as possible, because I was crawling up the stairs, and as much as I say I don't mind crawling up the stairs, it's still not nice for the kids to see you crawling up the stairs to go to the bathroom or whatever. So you have to adapt to everything needs changing. Even the car wasn't fit for me anymore. I had to change the car, and all the things you think. And with the family, they have to adapt with you, and everyone around you has to adapt with you, kind of thing as well.
So when you were coming, you mentioned obviously about the missus' brother, a strongman.
Cousin,
sorry.
well, like God cousin. I don't know what their relationship is.
Right, okay.
It's a strange relationship.
So when did you start falling in love with strongman then?
Do you know what? I think from the first time I went to the strongman gym, I was kind of accepted, even though I wasn't as strong as the guys there, because they've been doing it for some time, and I was like the newcomer in who just thought he was strong. I was kind of accepted from straight away, and I look back to when I was playing football, and when I tried to join these local clubs and stuff, wasn't really accepted at all from being there for like a few months. So from being accepted, it's like, oh cool, this is all right, and then they're all pushing you on and try, even though you're competing against them in most competitions, they're still like shouting for you to do better than what you think you can do, kind of thing. So I'd say straight away, and my first competition was Swindon's Strongest Novice, and I think I definitely came bottom 5, maybe bottom 3, but I didn't really care. I was just looking for the next one after that.
So in that Swindon Strongest Man, in the novice category, then what sort of lifts are you putting up?
So I remember it was a max deadlift. I think I pulled 260 kilos.
What body weight are you at that?
Oh gosh, back then I was probably about 105 kilos.
Right.
So I was quite a smaller guy. I ate myself.
Don't say that. That's what I am.
Oops. Yeah, I was massive at 105. Huge. So but like I was alright at deadlift and farmers and stuff, but my overhead was shocking. I think it was a max log, and I failed the opening lift at like 80 kilos and stuff. So
right.
Yeah. So 250 deadlift, 80 kilo overhead. I think the farmers was like 110 kilos. There was a 100 kilo Atlas stone for reps. And And yeah, there was another event, but I can't. Obviously, didn't like it, so I can't remember.
Right. So moving through then, what sort of stage of your strongman journey were you at when you were diagnosed with MS?
So I moved down to novice back in the day. I don't think they do it so much now, but if you come top 3 in a competition, you're encouraged to move up a category. So I moved up to I come second in Wales Strongest Novice. So I moved up to Open. So I was competing in the Opens category. I think I did about 3 Opens, and then I was looking at I entered Wales Strongest Man, overall Opens category, and then I was diagnosed. I think the competition was about October, and I was diagnosed with MS in May time. So it kind of didn't do that comp, but I qualified for Britain's Strongest Natural Man as well, and I actually went to that one, but that was a massive fuck up. Shouldn't have done that.
In what way?
So I had this was the start of my mobility issues. So I had MS for a few months, kind of okay with it. Things affected me, like the heat and my grip was a bit of a problem, but and I did fall over quite a lot. Leading up to the competition, I was falling over a lot more, and I was like getting stuck in places where my wife had to come and like drag me out and kind of help me around and stuff. And then I qualified for this competition, so I wanted to do it because this was the last chance I'll ever have, because I knew MS was taking over. So I went to the competition. First lift was max deadlift. Opening weight was like 230 kilos. Failed it. Couldn't even get off the ground. As I was like trying to pull it up, I was pulling myself down, kind of thing. Second was axle press, which was about, I think, 120, 130. Not a heavy weight, but I was I was able to clean it, and as it was on my chest, I was kind of falling down with it, so it was quite dangerous there. And then it was just a bit of a shit day, really. And then I remember the last event was at the Stones, the Stone Run, and then I don't know what weight it was. I want to say it was like 120, 130. Picked it up and ended up like falling backwards with it because of the MS, and then kind of sat there like a turtle upside down with a massive rock on him, kind of like, oh god. And then I kind of that was the last Opens competition I did, and I kind of walked away really slowly with my wife helping me, and I was like, oh, I'm not doing this stuff anymore.
So how did that affect your work then? What were you doing at the time?
So at the time I worked for security. I was doing like a very active job, like security for a data company, which is like on an MOD site kind of. So I was really strict rules. So I had to walk around perimeters and react to things, and it kind of it was affecting me there majorly. And I say I was a doorman as well, so I had two different jobs. It was while my wife was at university. I was working quite a few hours, and then so yeah, I had to kind of eventually leave it all because I couldn't walk as much anymore, and then I couldn't be as active as I was. So yeah, kind of had to leave it after a while. Like the guys I worked with, especially on the doors, they were quite understanding, know that like I couldn't be as quick as I could to a situation. But if you're working a job like that, you kind of need to be quick. You need to be on it, and you can't just sit there and just watch people all the time.
No, definitely not. So what did you take on then after?
So I left those jobs and I just worked in a shop. I worked in Travis Perkins, builder's merchant, but I hated that. That was a horrible job. Just retail. I think anyone who works retail, you can have a place in my will, because I can't do that job. It's a horrible job. And then I kind of worked there for only a little while, but then I went to work for a company called Siemens. Big company in the world, working the rail infrastructure. I worked there for like 6 years and I still can't say it. Rail infrastructure. Yeah. So I worked there, and I still work there now. They're godsend. They're brilliant with me. They kind of they set me up an office at home, and anything I want I kind of get with them. And it's mad because I thought going into the corporate world, with them being a corporate business, they'd be more like less understanding, but actually they're more understanding, and they care a bit more than the other companies did.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose in this day and age as well, with all the disability awareness and all that sort of stuff. Now companies are very much more inclined to adapt the surrounding stuff to obviously facilitate the workforce. So after that then? So you've got your MS, you've been diagnosed with it. What was then first 6 months like?
First 6 months, I mean, they were such a roller coaster, because MS is like one day it comes, one day it goes. It could be there for a week, could go for a week.
Talk us through the emotions.
You never really know what's going to happen. So 1 minute you're feeling happy because I haven't had MS for 2 days, kind of jobby, and the next day you're feeling really crap because you're struggling to get out of bed, or you're struggling to move around or something. So the emotions are all over the place, and one of the biggest symptoms of MS is depression. A lot of people do get depressed from it. I was depressed. I am still clinically depressed from it, and take antidepressants and stuff, and it kind of rolled me into a bit of a dark period. I kind of wasn't the same person anymore. I was kind of losing my identity as a man, as a father, as a husband, kind of as a strongman was gone. It wasn't even in my mind anymore. I didn't think I could compete, didn't think I could do anything to do with this gym, to be fair. So yeah, it's kind of a really, really dark time the first few years, until I kind of decided to seek help. I was struggling mentally quite a bit, and if it weren't for my wife, I kind of I definitely wouldn't be here, because she'd take the house. But I'd be in a caravan somewhere probably. But if it weren't for my wife, I definitely wouldn't be here. She made me kind of seek help and speak to my GP about it and stuff. And once I did, I was always focusing on what I couldn't do as a person. So I can't walk up the steps, so I couldn't go to the gym, or I couldn't do this, that. But once my life kind of started to change when I flipped it from I can't do this to, oh well, I can do this though, I can do that, and then I slowly started to get rid of the I can'ts. But when the I cans came in, it was just take away the T, and it was major for me. And yeah, I seek some help from the GP, and got diagnosed depression and put on antidepressants, and yeah, kind of started to try and live my life again.
Yeah, good. So the antidepressants then, do you take them periodically, or are you just on them and that's?
Yeah, I've been on them for quite a few years now. I've increased, I started on a low dose, going up to quite higher dose and stuff. I take a lot of meds anyway for MS, so pain is a big thing for me, and I'm in a lot of pain all the time. But when I don't take my meds, I'm in a lot more pain. So the biggest thing for my meds is pain. So there's nothing they can do for my MS. They can't improve it. It's an incurable disease, and I'm in a stage. So you got relapse remitting MS, where it comes goes, or you got progressive MS, where it's come and gone that much that it's going to stay. So my MS, the part I'm at the progressive stage, so my legs will never get better, or my hand will never get better, or the pain will never go away, kind of job. All they can do is give you medication to ease the symptoms, and I'm at that stage quite well. So they just threw the antidepressants in there, and I just don't know how many pills I take. Kind of open up my mouth, and wife pours them in. She could be putting me on Rohypnol or something,
Having a way with you.
Yeah, I wish.
So I just jotted down then. Obviously, there was a lot during the pandemic and that people struggling to get their pills and whatnot. Obviously, I don't know on your circumstances. Were you affected by the pandemic at all?
I mean, no, not really. I mean, I kind of thrived in the pandemic, I suppose, because I was quite home all the time anyway. I was working from home most of the time. The pandemic made me set up a little home gym. And that kind of helped me loads, so I was able to still train, and I've got loads of kit and stuff. So for pills and that, they were fine for me. I was getting I get them delivered to me, so it never stopped. I was never out of pills.
Right.
Job, but no, I didn't not enjoyed the pandemic. Obviously, it was a bit of a shit time for everyone, but you know, I was able to still train, and I was probably training more than I ever was, to be fair.
Yeah.
Because I was at home, so I could do it when I wanted and how I wanted, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, for the pandemic, I mean, obviously on a world scale, it was a terrible thing. But on a personal note, for me, which I've never actually said about on the podcast, it was pretty good, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Let's have another one.
I had a couple of months off in the beginning, which was nice. Like I was still getting my 80% of my wage, and all of that was all fine. And obviously, I've seen the kids all the time, just like. Because that year it was quite hot, I remember, while I was off with the kids, and it was only sort of 2 or 3 months. And then I went back to work. But my job at the time, I was a fire suppression engineer.
Okay.
So I would be leaving my house at like 4 o'clock in the morning every morning to go to like Weatherspoons and all them sort of different places to get in before obviously they started cooking. Well, no one was in them. So I could go at 8 o'clock in the morning. I could get up at like a sensible time, go and do my work, because they need servicing regardless. Like, obviously, a pandemic was out of the blue anyway, but these things have to be serviced every 6 months. Like fire extinguishers, so going to like the big hotels in London and stuff like that. But they were dead. Like, there was no one in them. There's no one, sniggering at you, like engineers, with all these posh people and that. And you just fly around, do the job. Like, it was so much easier to do the job. And it, like, traffic was obviously, there was nothing on the roads.
Yeah.
So, like, from that point of view, like, I had, time off with the kids, which I enjoyed and loved and that. And we were getting out all the time, obviously within the restrictions. But yeah, and we saw family member stuff. I went to drop stuff off to my gran. I've probably seen her a lot more during that time because I was doing her grocery shopping for her. So I was dropping that to her like once a week, and you know what I mean. Then I'd drop it. She'd spray it with her bits and bobs and that, and we'd stand and I'd chat to her for like half an hour. And yeah, so it was quite nice. It was really like, it was obviously time of reflection for a lot of people, and them, spending time with their family and seeing the family unit and the what's the word? The relationships that form within that, because you sort of had to be around your family more. I think probably people overlook now. Yeah.
Me and the wife, we had jobs where we could still work at home, so we were still working. I think the struggle was with the kids. I've got three kids. All quite different from the age of 6 to 17 kind of jobby.
Right.
And they were like deep in school. Well, the older ones were deep in school, so trying to juggle their schoolwork and I think the schoolwork was shit, to be honest. I don't think they were able to get on. They were doing classes over Teams, and the kids were just laying in bed doing them. It was like, I wish I could work like that. You know, I'd be the OnlyFans. But it was kind of like for them. I think it was a bit rubbish. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, same. So you spoke about, obviously you're in the army as a chef.
Yeah.
Me being ex-army myself.
Yeah.
How long did you do?
9 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did 9 years. I did a tour of Iraq. That was all right, to be fair. It was a shit situation, but you make the best of it, didn't you? And that's the only tour I did, really.
What's your views on the Iraq War?
I mean, I don't really get political much of it, but should we have been there? Probably not. Were we there? Yeah, kind of thing.
Right.
It was. Yeah, I'm not a political guy.
No, well, I did 5 years in the army, then went across the RAF, and I was in there for 6 years.
Oh, cool.
But now looking back, and I've had this question asked me a couple of times recently as well, because a lot of people think that my discipline and whatnot, like with my working out and jiu-jitsu and everything that I do, and that I'm always busy. They always put it down to being in the military. And I'm like, if you saw me when I was in the military, I was lazy.
Yeah.
I would, like, you get told when to get up, be at work, whatever, your fizz times and all that. But outside of that, I didn't work out. I didn't do, I was just drinking all the time. I was a young man anyway, so it's like, at that point you're immortal.
Yeah.
And it's only been, I would say, in the last sort of 3-4 years that I've really started to knuckle down. And then within the last sort of year, I've really found that lifting is what I love doing.
Yeah, I was the same. When I was in the army, I was just drinking, drinking, going out, coming back, doing work, doing fizz, drinking, coming back, doing work, doing fizz, drinking, and then just a cycle of that. My first base was in Germany, so I was just, it was awesome as an 18-year-old going all the way over there. It was like a lad's holiday for a 2-year lad's holiday kind of thing. And then I had kids quite early on. I met my wife on my second my second posting, and I met her, and we had kids and were married within a few years, and so kind of knuckled down a bit, but I was still never into like the gym or anything. It was when I was leaving the army, I was sort of focusing a bit more on strength and a bit more bodybuilding rather than strongman kind of job. If I think about how heavy I am and how much I can lift now compared to when I was struggling to do 40 push-ups back doing the PFTs.
Yeah. Well, all that's been lowered now.
Is it really?
Yeah. So this will make you laugh. So there's a lad at my gym, won't mention his name, who was joining the engineers.
Okay.
And I think last year the engineers were losing something like 2,000 lads. Is what I'd been told. So they'd lowered all the standards to get in, and it's not a mile and a half run anymore.
No,
it's a bleep test.
Okay.
And his bleep test score that he had to reach was in the 9s.
Really?
Pretty sure it was in the 9s, and it was less because I remember making a joke about it because when I was in the RAF, the bleep test score you had to get was 910.
Okay.
So it's definitely less than 910 to get in the engineers. And I was like, that's crazy. I was like, what about the press-up, sit-ups and stuff like that? And he was like, they're, just like 20 of each. And I'm like, that's crazy.
Wow, yeah. I mean, my kids could probably do that.
That's it. But I think the problem that they've got is obviously it's not that an attractive job role. Like the army is in general these days, obviously with the world going as it is with, the gender fluid stuff, and everyone's getting a lot softer these days. So I think, and with society, obviously, everyone's getting a bit heavier.
Yeah. And I think people are looking more at functional fitness rather than like the press up, sit up. It's great to be able to do 44 push-ups in a minute or so, but how's that actually going to help you in a situation that you're going to be in potentially? So, I think they're leaning more towards kind of CrossFit style training. My brother's still in. He's he's one of these gym buddies. He's PTI core actually. But I think he's up to his 22-year point soon. So
right, that was my original. When I first started, I wanted to be an aircraft technician first.
Yeah.
And then, in fact, that was the RAF. So aircraft technician was what I went for. Colourblind, they were like, absolutely not doing that, fella. And I tried to blag it. Like I sort of knew that my colour perception wasn't right because I'm quite artistic. And in my art exam, one of my art pieces, I coloured it in blue. I thought it was blue and it was purple. And the art teacher was like, it's really good, but it's the wrong colour.
Close.
I'm like, it's not. She's like, definitely is. So I had sort of, an understanding that I didn't quite see colours right. And then they sit you in a dark room, 2 lights, one above the other, and they can be, I think, white, blue, red, or green.
Yeah.
And it's a mixture of which, what's top, what's bottom. You just say them out loud each time. I think there was 5 or 10 showings, and I got none of them right.
Oh man!
And I was literally just looking. They all just looked white, and I was like, white, red. Got none of them right, and they were like, we think you're colourblind. CP4, which is like the worst.
Oh wow!
So I had to do an extended air to drive on the airfield. I had to do
really?
I was like, it's green and red. Like I know.
Yeah.
I know what green and red looks like. I can drive.
Yeah.
So I had to do that and extend on that. But so that was that out the window. So vehicle mechanic was what I ended up being. And then when I joined the RAF, I wanted to be a PTI.
Yeah.
Because that was the other thing as well. Between leaving the army and joining the RAF, I had about 10 months.
Oh, okay.
I got insanely fit. Like super duper fit. 21, just working out all the time with my brother. Got in really good shape. And yeah, so I was like, right, PTI, want PTI, because obviously I'd been out to the Falkland stuff and spent time with the RAF. I knew, some of the job roles that they had and which ones not easier, but less.
Yeah.
You can get away with more stuff and a bit more downtime. PTI was out the window. They're like, it's a 2-year waiting list. I was like, I'm not waiting 2 years. I was like, what about firefighter? Because I know in the Falklands they do nothing. The same. It's like 18 months. I said, right, rather than me going through this list and saying what I want to do, you tell me what I can get in, the next 6 months or whatever, and we'll see. And obviously the same 4 that's always put. It's like mobility, chef, logistics, and like something else. So I did logistics. I knew a few boys in logistics. Then I managed to get transferred into the fuels team.
Oh, cool.
So I was on the fuels operators out of Wittering. So I did a 3-month deployment out in Cyprus.
Yeah.
To aid with the Syria efforts. And that, like you were saying about the 2-year holiday, like that was like a 3-month. And I went during, I think it was July to October.
Yeah.
Or June to June, September, something like that. So it was like, so I was like right in, party season, the summer, everyone's out there. And it was wicked. But that was the point where I realised I didn't want to be in the military anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'd had my 2 kids at that point. And the whole time I was there, I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is probably going to be the best deployment I could ever get. I'm getting paid extra to be out here. It's sunny every day. We're only working 3 days a week. I still don't want to be here.
Yeah.
I said, so once I landed, I spoke to the missus about it, or the missus at the time. And I said, I think I want to get out. So that's what I did. What was your circumstances for leaving?
So I
9 years is a random.
Yeah, so it was around the kids basically. So I was deployed.
Could you not have pushed it out them too for the half pension?
Do you know? Stupidly, I should have, massively stupidly. But when you're in that situation, you just kind of want to get out, kind of job. So I was deployed to Iraq while my first daughter was being born, basically, and I couldn't get back to see the extravaganza of childbirth for that one. It's quite funny actually. We've always told her I was on a lad's holiday, and she believed that up to like when she was like 16. Yeah, I think we were having an argument, and she was like, "You couldn't even bother to be here for my birth," and I was like, "Actually, I was a fucking war mate." But so she felt a bit silly when she found that out. But and my wife was quite. She had some postnatal depression and stuff, and it was quite a struggle to see in that. And while I was going away still quite a lot, I knew I was going to be leaving soon. And then we had my second daughter. Saw that, wish I didn't. It's quite childbirth's great, isn't it? They tell you. But and then I kind of knew from there. I was going away, quite a lot with exercises and going abroad and stuff. And then I did the MLT course, the mountain leader course. So I was actually going up mountains quite regularly. It's quite funny now because I can't even stand up. But I was climbing up. Can't even stand up now, but I was climbing up like Ben Nevis every day for a week and stuff. And so I just had enough. I think I was at the top of Scarfield Pike, and I thought, this is fun and stuff, but I've done it like 16 times now. And my wife was at home with both kids, struggling a bit, and she always wanted to go to university. But where we met, where she was 17, I was 18, 19 kind of job. She never had that opportunity. I kind of took it away from her. So decided to leave. She'd go to college, to university and stuff, and then I just do whatever I could at the time. Kind of thought I'd leave to an easier path than what it was, but it was quite a struggle to find employment and keep employment kind of thing. And to be a civvy was a lot different from being in the military. But I kind of worked on fitness when I left as well.
So when did you leave? What year?
I left in 2010. 2010 I left.
Right, okay.
So what's that, 14 years ago now?
Yeah.
Left in 2010, and then obviously diagnosed in 2014. If I thought about it, I should have stayed until 2014. I would have been quids in, really. Yep. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So right, let's talk about the journey then, obviously towards the world's strongest disabled man. So once you've had your M&S diagnosis,
M&S.
MS
Yeah.
diagnosis, and you've gone through your 6 months, your up and downs, and so once you've settled into right, we can still lift. This is what we want to do. We can do it. What talk us through that?
So it did take a few years to kind of be able to build myself up again. I think I started lifting again in like 2017 probably.
Right.
And then once I started lifting, kind of I knew mentally I needed to get back into some sport or something, some structure of, if it wasn't going to be strongman, it was going to be like wheelchair basketball or rowing or something. But kind of there's not a lot of resources out there for disabled sport, or there's more now, but in 2017 there was hardly anything. So you Google what's around in my area, and the closest thing is like 500 miles away or something. You'd have to travel something deep to, or it's all up in Loughborough. They do loads up there, but for me that's not practical to get to. So I kind of wanted to try other things. Tried powerlifting, but rubbish at that because of the body weight situation. I was a heavier guy, and going against guys with no legs and stuff is obviously I'm weighing double what they're weighing. So kind of found this guy Mark Smith on I think YouTube or Facebook. Not really had an Instagram in 2017. Wasn't really that time. So I found him doing disabled strongman. Thought, bloody hell, what's this? Didn't overly know about the sport, and then kind of contacted him and just started planning the next competition. My first competition was the strongest adaptive man in the South. Ended up winning that against the world's strongest disabled man, Mark Smith, or Britain's. I don't think he was world's. And then people have been doing it for a while, and then decided to do Britain's strongest disabled man that year, and ended up coming third in my first year. So I was quite happy with that, quite impressed. But then kind of dropped off the radar a bit for another year. Kind of, I was transitioning to like walking sticks and stuff like that. So I was kind of getting used to being more disabled than I was the year before. So kind of just did regular gym stuff, regular like bench press and regular gym workouts. And then decided to get back into it properly in 2019. And then again came third. So third was my lucky number apparently. And then the pandemic hit and everything kind of got shut down for a few years. And then went back into Britain's Strongest Man 2021. What are we in now? 24. 2021. Ended up winning that competition, which was pretty cool. Like I said, I was quite lucky that I built the home gym in the garden, so I was able to train where other people weren't. So, my fortunes, their shit luck, whatever. Ended up winning that one, and then qualified for the Worlds, which was in Iceland, and ended up coming second in 2021 in Iceland. Bit pissed off about because I think it's more of a equipment malfunction than me losing. But
so talk us through that then. Obviously you've mentioned the equipment malfunction. What was obviously that whole experience, that whole time in Iceland? What was that like?
It was good. So I ended up taking my family. So we made a bit of only for the weekend, made a bit of a holiday for it. So we were planning on they would come to one day, and then because it's a 2-day event, they would come to one day, and next day they would go off and do something. But they came to the first day, didn't overly realise that the Icelandic government put kind of like a ban in place for more than like 40 people in one area because of the coronavirus. So they came in and had to go quickly. So they had a great time. They went to Iceland. They did all the sites, and I was just in the bloody warehouse lifting for the weekend on my own. But it was a good trip, to be fair. The events were quite good, and then it was kind of neck and neck with this one guy sharing points, and then whoever would win the last event would win it. And it was Atlas Stones, but the wheelchairs in Iceland were so shit. They were worse than like the NHS chairs you get here and that. And the guy who went before me did it, but broke the brakes. So the brakes, I had no brakes on my wheelchair. So you're trying to lift up an Atlas Stone from your right, and you just like the chair's moving as you're pulling it up, and I couldn't reach the next platform. And yeah, so ended up getting 0 on that, and then ended up coming second because of it, which was a bit rubbish for me. But obviously wasn't my time. Obviously needed another year to prepare.
So when you're lining up for that, then on day one in Iceland, family's obviously got sent away. How do you get yourself in the mindset? What do you do? What's your go-to thing? Do you have certain foods that you have that day, or music you listen to?
Yeah, I'm quite an easy guy, to be fair. I mean, I don't need music to get me hyped up. I don't need people shouting at me or slapping me. I know my capabilities and I know what I need to do. So I knew I would go out there and pull like 600 kilo seated deadlift. I knew I had it in me, and I knew I had to do it. So I was just kind of wait for my name to be called. I'll eat in between events, but kind of just like a bagel or something. Not it's not good enough really, but it's what I'm used to and it's what I can do. So I knew what I could do, and yeah, that's kind of my mindset. The family went. I just sat in a corner with one of the other guys and just kind of watched strongman and waited for your name.
So when you were there, did you think that you'd be, in contention, or was it the unknown?
No, it's the unknown. I think winning Britain's was great, but it was my first international and my first world, so kind of didn't know what to expect so much. It wasn't until the second day I thought, oh yeah, I could actually do this. Being neck and neck with the other guy, I thought, yeah. So I went into it kind of hoping for top 3, but not expecting so much. But then when I was there, kind of started to build my confidence up a bit more.
So, talking about your lifts, then obviously early we spoke about your lifts that you failed on, in your early powerlifting and stuff like that. What sort of lifts are you doing now then? Obviously you said 6.
No, I've got the world record at the seated deadlift at 646 kilos, which I did at the Arnold's a few years ago. Bench press, I'm looking at like 190, 195 kilos. Atlas Stone, up to like, with the Atlas Stone and stuff, you have to be careful because the chair you're in, it's got weight limit. So I weigh about 130 kilos plus like 150 kilo stone. Got to be welded by God or something to be able to hold that weight. Dumbbells like 60 kilos. Kind of. I got the Guinness World Record at seated truck pull. So the truck behind me, I'm pulling on a rope. That's 10 tons, but I've done 20 in training. I was meant to do 20 on the day, but the space wouldn't allow it, so I had to settle for one lorry rather than 2. Good.
So is there no wheelchair companies or anything like that do like a strengthened?
Oh yeah, there is. So when we compete in the Britons, and any competition in the UK, there's a GB Disabled Strongman at the tag. They have 2 wheelchairs which were made specifically by RGK wheelchair company for strongman. Right. There's only 2 in the world. I'm not sure on the weight limit, but you still have to be careful with it because it's got like a table on the front. So if you do drop it, it's not going to crush your legs or anything.
Right.
Because I've done that before. That was fun, dropping 100 kilo Atlas Stone on your legs. When you got bad legs anyway, having a bad leg on top of the bad legs is pretty shit. But so you have to be careful with dropping heavy weight onto the table, and there's quite a few safety things to think about, but I don't know if it can how much weight it can hold. They're just quite keen on not breaking it.
So when you're powerlifting, why the change from powerlifting to strongman? It seems to, I see online a lot of the time, and it's sort of, I've seen a lot of things about it's sort of what I do, where I don't bodybuild, I don't power. I'm sort of in between. Like I try and lift quite heavy quite a lot of the time, but I start my reps in sort of the 12 to 8, and then I move down into the 5s. Yeah. So I get like a lot of strength, but I look nice as well, basically. But yeah, and I see it a lot, and that is the sort of stepping stone thing. And I think I probably am going to try strongman at some point.
Yeah, you should definitely.
And just give it a whirl. But yeah, what was it that attracted you to it?
I think with powerlifting is bench press. That's it. That's all it is. when you move into strongman, there's so much more you can do functionally, and you can be bigger. It's not really weight class unless you do the weight classes. If you want to enter the opens and stuff, is you can be as heavy as you want, kind of thing. And I enjoyed being a bigger person, and I enjoyed doing things that people didn't think you can.
Yeah.
So like for me, bench pressing is something that everyone has. Most people have the ability to do. Whether they do it or not is their own choice. But with strongman, I think you have to really work for that ability, no matter what weight it is. You have to work on being able to lift up this really awkward bit of shit next to you, or you have to really, really work to be able to do that event, because it's not something that you see ever in the gym or something. You have to adapt yourself to be able to do, kind of thing. And I just really enjoyed making people think that you can't do that, but actually, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier as well, and I meant to say about it, but I forgot and I didn't write it down. You were talking about how you were so accepted into the community when you first started. You didn't feel that in the other sports that you tried. What do you think that is? Why do you think I think it is the gym community in general as well.
I think with strongman, if you think back in 2014, these were the days where 2011, 2012, these were the days where there wasn't many competitions around. There was one website called Sugden Barbell that you had to register to be able to join the competitions, and you're looking at like 5-6 a year that you can get on. So there's so few of you doing it, unless you're at that elite level of Britons at the time, which Britons was still in a car park back then, rather than the arenas that it is now. There was only a handful of you that were doing it, so they wanted to see it grow, and by being accepting, I guess, and not being dicks about it, they kind of, because I think as well you have a perception that Josh Strongman are dicks, or you did back then. I think UK Strongest Man made it out to look like they were all in a pub and they just started lifting weights in the pub or something. But that's not the case. They're generally really nice people, even the elite level ones. So you kind of go in thinking, I'm not going to be accepted. So, you expect the worst, but you get the best out of it. And now it's grown to such a, it's huge now. I think there's like probably about 4 or 5 competitions every weekend. So, and obviously with Facebook and stuff, it's easier to get it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a sort of a standard across the board in sports. I mean, the more elite people get, especially in martial arts. Obviously, I come from a martial arts background, so that's all I can speak to, really. But the more elite you get, the more sound the person is usually, because they've been in that situation. They've been humbled. Do you know what I mean? Like for jiu-jitsu, like my professor, he's a first degree black belt, massive guy. Like he's jacked to the gills, and a killer. Nicest guy you'll ever meet. Nicest guy you'll ever meet. He can't do enough for you. He's always good with like Kate, like my daughter. She does jiu-jitsu. Just super nice guy. Best guy in the world. And you stand in room with him, and you just think, oh, he's just a bit of a gym queen. Yeah. Like, no, killer. Absolute killer. But just the nicest guy ever. And it's the same with a lot of the guys in there. Like, they've been humbled in their time. I mean, they've fought against better fighters. They've been choked out. Even in the gym, you get, choked out every so often and stuff like that. And it's just because of the conflict we're in. It's the same with weightlifting as well. Like, there is that battle in your mind when you're, lifting, going for your 1 rep maxes and or you're, the tail end of your rep set, like your heaviest set. You've got that battle in your mind, whether it's against someone or not. You're against that bar. You're against gravity. You're against, whatever your determination is to push through it. Yeah. And I think it's that, what's the word I'm looking for? The confrontation in that keeps people so humble. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing. And I think that's why there's, still a lot of the outrage and stuff that people have. And I'm just like, just have an outlet.
Yeah, and I kind of think that when people get to a certain point of their kind of like athletic career, they're grateful to be there. And I kind of noticed this most with Mitchell Hooper, who was World's Strongest Man. I was out in Florida competing at World's Strongest Disabled Man last year, and he was there on day 2 as like kind of like guest referee, MC, and he was going around and he'd have time for everybody, you know, and he'd kind of like. I was sat there with another athlete, Stephen Moore, who's an amputee, so he does standing class. He actually won last year, World's Strongest Disabled Man standing classes, standing and sitting classes, and then he just come up to us, started sitting next to us, and just talking like we were mates and that. And he actually sat in my wheelchair and nicked it for a while and was going around wheeling all over the place. And I thought that's fucking, you know, it's a really sound guy. And then I was at the Arnold's earlier in the year, just like. As walking like a person, just a general public, and I ended up somehow backstage at the Giants Live, so I had a few mates working there, and kind of got backstage, and Mitch Hooper was there, and he came up to me, he's like, "Oh, good to see you, man," you know, he's like, remembered me. I was like, "Oh, fucking hell, you know, maybe I've made it." Yeah. But you know, and he just seemed really happy and grateful that every person he'd meet wants to meet him, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So how do the events line up then? You have the World's Strongest Man. Is World's Strongest Disabled Man? Is that the week after, the week running up to it?
Yeah, no, we're nothing to do with World's Strongest Man at all. Giants Live or the World's Strongest Man. So we've got our own kind of federation to it, and we don't get help off the bigger kind of community of strongman like Giants Live, Official Strongman, or World's Strongest Man. So there's a kind of a small team in the UK called GB Disabled Strongman, which is run by a military veteran, Martin Tai, who he was blown up in Afghanistan, and he started competing, and then they kind of saw a gap in the market and started trying to raise competitions, and not for money or profit or anything. They just do it because there's nothing out there. If they didn't do it, no one else would, kind of thing. And I kind of feel like the bigger companies need to kind of help out a bit more. I'm not talking about a monetary value. I'm talking about more helping with advertisement and, you know, pushing our stuff out there, because they're all good and well kind of sharing an inspirational thing of a person in a wheelchair doing something, but, you know, they don't overall help out with the big, you know, sharing posters or putting us on their wall or something.
Yeah, the actual sort of backbone of it.
Yeah, so we're more ran kind of whenever we can, kind of thing. I think whether it be at a expo somewhere. So this year we're World's Strongest Disabled Man's in November, I think, at FitX in Birmingham. Not sure if that's announced yet, but you know, is now. You heard it here first.
World exclusive.
But and then last year it was at the World Strength Games. It's just really randomly and nothing at all to do with the World's Strongest Man.
Okay. I'll come along to that. To the World's Strongest Disabled Man.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
Birmingham. That's pretty close to me. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
no excuse.
Come along, man. That'd be great. It's always the guys at GB Disabled Strongman put on a really good show, and they're all about the athletes and for the athletes, and like I say, Martin and his wife Becky, or fiance, future wife Becky, they run it all from their like house kind of thing, not for non-profit. I think Becky's actually in the RAF and Martin was in the army, so yeah, come along.
Yeah, I will do. So what are you looking for down the line then?
So down the line, I guess I'm getting older now, so you know, don't know if I can keep up with these younger guys. But next I've got on the Highland Games, which is my first Highland Games competition. So I'm looking forward to competing in that, and then just general life to life kind of strongman.
With the Highland Games, what sort of events are there?
Yeah,
and how can you practice for them? Like, how can you get the reps in?
So it's mainly throwing events. So you got like the big kind of like uneven rock or whatever you throw from the chest, just kind of like throw it away for distance, and then there's a shot put, which, you know, you sat down on a kind of like a stool made for for that. You kind of hold onto a bar and kind of shot put from that. And then there's the caber. Not everyone in a wheelchair is allowed to do the caber, but I think if they think you're strong enough, you can do it. And I want to do that. And I don't know how to practice that. To be fair, I'm just going to start tossing the kids or something. Not tossing them off or anything, but just tossing them in the air. That'd be a bit weird. That's for the other show. But
that's subscription, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the deep subscription you find on the darknet.
Yeah. So with the Gabe then, Gable?
Oh, caber. Yeah, caber. Yeah,
that's the big pole.
Yeah, the big stick.
Obviously, yeah, with the strength of it, because the angle that'll sit at is going to be so much closer, isn't it, rather than being able to have it.
Yeah, no. So like you kind of like lean forward.
Of how
I guess.
Low but you're lower to the ground.
Yes. So I'll be in my wheelchair, and it would be harder to toss it because you've got no momentum behind it. I'm very confident I can do it.
What's the weight of it?
I don't know. Whatever turns
confident,
up.
Not worried about the weight.
Not so sure, but I've seen someone else in the wheelchair do it, and I'm bigger than him, so just by the law of physics, I should be able to do it.
Yeah. That's always been my output on everything I've ever done in life. If someone else has done it, I can do it. There's a way of doing it.
I'm looking at breaking a few records this game's cementing my name in the game straight away, and if I enjoy it, I'll keep going back to that, and it's a good weekend away with the missus kind of thing. It's in John O'Groats, so deep dark Scotland, proper Highland games, and just get on a whiskey afterwards.
Yeah, nice. So what was I going to say? What was my question? So how did you get the invitation for that then?
So there's a kind of like a team called the Wounded Highlanders, and it's for military, ex-military, and they just one of the guys who competes. He's been asking me to go for a few years, but I've always been putting it off. But this year I kind of thought, do you know what? May as well. There's no international competitions this year, so may as well try something different. And just thought, fuck it, why not?
Right. So how old are you? You're saying you couldn't keep up with the guys.
37 now.
Right, okay.
So yeah.
Making me feel old. 35.
Oh gosh, yeah, you're getting there, man.
No, we're supposed to be in our prime, I think. Someone told me.
I don't know.
No, yeah, I don't feel like that at all.
I wasn't in a wheelchair 10 years ago.
I won't say what I was going to say now because it makes me look bad. I was going to say my knees are shot. But,
yeah, mine are gone.
Yeah.
Now my knees are in perfect condition because I don't use them so much.
Yeah, no, mine are absolutely battered.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have big issues with them. Like I got up to 18 stone 3 years ago. That was sort of the catalyst for me starting on my fitness journey. And my knees were bad. Like I didn't do anything, and they were just brutal. And then I started running and doing a bit of lifting, but it was more running. I was training for a triathlon. Oh. And the knee pain was just there, and it just hurt, and I was just like, just ignore it, like it would go away. And I started eating cleaner, and just slowly but surely it just eased.
Yeah.
And it was So like, that's the other thing as well. Like, I've learned so much about my body in these last 3 years, and what works for me, what food, I love all food. Like, I'm not picky foodie. Like, I'll eat anything. Like pizza, obviously pizza, but anything, whatever you put in front of me, if it's edible, I'll eat it. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's learning that, because when I first started, I was like, I'll gym, and the food will be fine.
Yeah. I think that's the thing is people just gym is all of it, they think, but that's training in the gym is a very small portion of how you kind of get to an elite level of whatever you want to do. You have to think about your nutrition, your rest, your mental state, everything kind of it. And I'm lucky I work with Coach Lawrence Charlet, who kind of he does everything for me kind of thing. He's just started doing my nutrition as well, so it's like being back in the military. Someone's telling you what to do, how much to eat, when to eat, kind of thing. Yeah, so it's kind of good. I've been working with him. Yeah, well, before I was with him, I didn't have anything, and then kind of like the first year I took him on as a coach, kind of got Britain's, got second in worlds, and then kind of carried on with him from there to become 2 times world champion, Arnold's champion, 2 times British champion. So it makes a difference having someone like that in your corner.
Yeah, definitely. I've been on this thing because I get a lot of I have a lot of conversation with the lads at the gym that I go to. It's just a local leisure gym, and because they're always saying like they're just normal gym they go sort of 2-3 times a week or whatever. They're like, I want to get serious about it. I want to start doing it, and I'm like, do not go straight from what you're eating now to chicken, rice, and broccoli.
Oh God, yeah.
I said, you do that, you will fail.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. I said, and my analogy with it, and I'm trying to get it better. I'll work it out. Now it's on the podcast, someone no doubt will get in touch. But I assimilate it to, like, your body's been on crack.
Yeah.
You've been taking crack, basically. You've been eating sweets, chocolate, donuts, all the rest of it, whatever you like a normal diet. You'll then go into broccoli, rice, and chicken, plain. It's like drinking water.
Yeah.
Well, if your body's used to crack, it's not going to love water.
Yeah.
Because water's not going to hit the same. So it's going to want to get back to crack, and it's going to keep going. Let's have a little bit of crack.
So just stay on the crack.
Go back, and then and immediately you're going to go back. So my thought on it, and I've sort of I've done it myself as well, is that I've slowly made changes, and you're more aware of it, obviously, from being fat going to thin. I'm aware of, if I'm going to the gym, I need to do something about the diet, otherwise the gym's they're just going to cancel each other out.
Yeah.
So you sort of subconsciously are like, I don't really need that biscuit. And do you know what I mean? I've made them little change. Don't get me wrong. The odd occasion I'll go off on one, or if we're going out, I've always been very thing on that as well, that if I'm going out to a pizza place, I'm having pizza.
Pizza, yeah.
I'm having pasta. If we're going to an Italian, I'm having whatever they're doing. Yeah. I'll always eat whatever's on the menu. I'm not like, oh, can you do this for this and add that to that? Whatever it is, I just eat whatever it is, and I just chalk it off as I've just had a good time.
Yeah, I'm quite good. Like, when I need to reel it in for competitions, if there's a competition coming up, I know what I need to eat. My wife's really good at kind of forcing me to kind of eat, because if I'm not training, I don't generally eat. I don't eat a lot at all. I have like a bowl of cereal, and that's it for the day. But if I'm weeks out for a competition, my wife will be like, stop being a dick, you're going to lose. And kind of stops me drinking whiskey, stops me eating all ice cream and stuff, and gets me into it. And, that helps so much. And then I kind of like, once you get into it, you kind of, I don't eat chicken and broccoli, I do eat chicken and broccoli, but I'll season it or I'll sauce, and that's the good thing about strongman is you can add a bit of flavour to things. If I had to cut weight, I'd probably just give up. And
So what does it look like then? How does your sort of food change? What do you have leading up to it? And what in the past, what have you used that you now don't for whatever reason?
Yeah, so now it's kind of like more meals and consistency. I kind of know I need to eat like 6-7 meals a day, with the day starting at like 5 a.m. for the gym, on a bagel before, to shakes after, to like eggs and toast for breakfast, and then a first dinner or first lunch of like pasta, mince and veg, and a second lunch of chicken, rice and veg, and then a dinner of like fish and carbs and stuff, and then another meal on top of that a bit later with like yogurt and that. But on my kind of, I call it off season, but you don't really ever have an off season, I think, when you're doing this game. I'll eat like pizza and stuff like that. And yeah, I just kind of know when it's time to, I kind of get told when it's time to flick the switch, kind of thing, and it's kind of flicked. But in the past, before like I took Loz on, I was just like kind of chicken and rice all the time, to try and gain, and to try and like be more efficient in competition. But yeah, he kind of introduced me to, you can do this and have flavour kind of thing. And my wife's like from a Caribbean family, so I need a bit of flavour. I'm used to a bit of flavour,
Yeah, I mean that's the same for me. I always say to people, I'm like, put whatever you're going to put on it. Put peri seasoning, you marinade marinate it at that, like, unless you're going to be a professional bodybuilder, them extra couple of calories here and there are not going to make that much difference. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to make. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to put you. It's not going to make you fat if you're fit.
Yeah, and you need some enjoyment in your life, like, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
I think if I cut it out to become a bodybuilder and, you know, was just eating white food, you know, and, you know, the enjoyment of my life at the minute is food and is strongman. If I was to cut it out, I'd probably have nothing to live for. I'd probably end up bloody jumping off a bridge on the M4 or something. Like, you know, I wouldn't, you know.
Rolling.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'd kind of roll up to the point where I have to climb and then kind of fall. So yeah, it's all planned out. Don't worry.
I was just going to say, I love how we're just casually talking about your suicide.
You're in my note now, so
I had nothing to do with it. So I ask everyone this question on the podcast as well. I'd just like to give you to give out some advice. Whether it be someone that's just getting into strongman, whether it, you know, abled or disabled, or just general life advice.
I think I always tend to try and lean my advice towards people who've like newly been diagnosed with something, or if you've just had an accident and you're learning to live with your new disability or whatever. I say, like, it is shit. Yeah, it's shit, and it's going to be shit for a while. However, once you start to learn to love yourself again, and once you start to learn your new surroundings, and you're starting to be able to learn how to adapt and learn what you can do, go outside and find yourself a passion. Once, it doesn't matter if that passion is strongman, knitting, chess, whatever you want to be a passion, it can be. And learn to love it. And once you love it and you keep doing it and you can't wait to do it again, that's when you've made it in life. That's when you've learned to kind of overcome your disability or your disadvantage, is when you find a passion and you learn to love it and you can just want to do it again. So that's kind of my advice to someone who's newly going through something. That's what I would throw out there. If you know, for a newbie strongman, it would be kind of look at your goals and look at where you want to go. If you want to go to the top, you know, look at the person at the top and look how they got there. If it was by getting a coach, if it was by sorting out nutrition, if it was by getting the rest, getting the help they needed, that's what you're going to need to get there, basically. So look at who's at the top, what level you want to get to. I mean, look at it. If you're not going to get to a top level, get to a good level you want to get to, or just do it for fun. Just learn to do it for fun. Otherwise,
yeah,
that's it.
Brilliant.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs. Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, well, unless they're sports enhancing drugs to get you to a certain level, if that's what the top man does.
Well, is there anything else you want to discuss?
I suppose,
Drugs,
you know,
sports?
we could flow out. No. Not my kids are going to be listening to this. No. I suppose it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month is June. I kind of, you know, I've been through dark times and dark struggles. I think if we can always look to learn to be able to accept our mental illness as a positive, I think we can kind of learn to overcome it. Whether that be you need to speak to someone, basically, is the best thing you can do for mental health. I think once I started speaking to people about my own mental health struggles, beard got in the way.
That's right.
I think once you start to learn to be able to speak about your mental health struggles to other people, that's when you can overcome it and share the load. The first time I spoke to my GP about it, I kind of remember just feeling this overwhelming weight lift off your shoulders. So yeah, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Let's make it aware. I don't think it's out there so much because obviously it's Pride Month as well. I think men's mental health awareness kind of gets thrown to the background, and it's a typical man thing to do, isn't it? Just throw it to the background and don't worry about it.
Yeah, and I think obviously men are getting quite a bad rap at the minute on social media for some reason. I'm not really sure, being as we make up 50% of the population, but
yeah,
especially straight white. If you're straight white, then
yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, and if you struggle, you're not going to talk about it. You know, you're just going to leave it. You know, but it's it's okay. You know, it's okay to make a scene and talk about it and be at the front for a minute.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. If you have any issues, then speak to someone definitely.
Yeah, and the whole a problem shared is a problem halved. You know, as stupid as it is, it's true. You share it with someone, that person's going to help you or try and help you or be a dick about it, you know. But then just try someone else.
Well, yeah, they're going to have a different outlook on it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, different perspective, different angle of looking at it, and maybe some of the answers, or at least showing you, the path to take. They might have had that in the past you didn't know, and stuff like that. But definitely speak to someone.
You never know. Like they might want to speak to someone as well. But you speaking to them might open them up to speak to someone else or speak to you about it. So your secret help could be helping.
Yeah, definitely.
And don't do drugs.
And don't do drugs. Dave's been very adamant about that today. Don't do drugs.
Yeah, I'm talking to my kids now. You put that crack pipe down. You put it back in my bedroom.
Where did you get that from? So do you want to give everyone your socials and whatnot? Yeah,
you can follow me on all of my socials are sitting_bull_UK. So Sitting Bull UK. See what's coming up. Got some interesting collaborations coming up. Working more on collaborating with bigger people than me.
I thought you meant bigger people than me.
Yeah, no, bigger people than me. So it'd be interesting to see what's coming up.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast today, Dave.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, and thanks for welcoming me into this lovely home you've got now. It's a bit weird that you've got pictures of my kids up everywhere, but oh wait, it's my house.
Yes, it is.
It's even weirder then.
And we shall see you again, everybody.
See you. Thanks.
See you later.